Right. Welcome everyone to our Liberal Arts Senior Week event. Today we are talking about budgeting and financial literacy with Sarah Metzger. She is from the Sokolov Miller Family Financial and Life Skills Center and is joining to share some helpful advice for postgraduate and even those students here who are not yet graduating. We welcome you, and any advice will definitely be relevant to you as well as myself, I'm sure, at this point. So Sarah, I'm going to kick it off to you. At the end of the presentation, we will put up the QR code for the senior survey if anyone needs access to it. But obviously you're receiving quite a lot of communication to do so. So we ask that you please fill out that senior survey as well. So Sarah, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Katie. And good afternoon, everyone. It's really good to see you, quote unquote. So my name is Sarah Metzger, like Katie said, and I'm an education program specialist for Penn State Sokolov Miller Family Financial and Life Skills Center. We're located on campus at University Park. Hopefully you've heard of us. I have met students who have not, they're not familiar with our center. So better late than never to get you familiar with what we do and how we can help you. And so today, this presentation is going to be all about helping you prepare for your financial life after graduation. I'm going to offer several pieces of food for thought, and I want you to know that the Financial and Life Skills Center is a free resource for you to explore those thoughts further. If you have money questions you need answered, if you've been working on a budget but could use a little extra help to put it into action, or if there's a money topic that you'd like to learn more about, please do connect with us. So we're located on campus right next to the hub. We're in Grange building on the lower level. You can access via that the sidewalk that falls between that red brick building, which is Grange, and the hub parking deck. So you can come on in and see us. You can also get in touch with us via our website, financialliteracy.psu.edu, and email us at finlit@psu.edu. We offer one-on-one appointments via Starfish. That's where that Starfish comes in. And we've got loads of resources on our website, including Canvas self-study modules on 28 different financial topics. So as a soon-to-be graduate, there are some resources that you have access to right now from our center, but after graduation, that access is going to become limited. So the one-on-one counseling sessions that we offer, free for you right now, and you can access at any time via Starfish. But once you graduate and you're no longer in the Starfish system, you won't have access to that. You will, however, still have access to the Canvas modules because we do not require login for those, and all of the other resources that we have on our website. So I encourage you to check it all out. Think about this presentation. Think about how you can connect with us so that we can support you as you prepare to launch out of Penn State and into the workforce or whatever your next step may be. All right, so we're here today to talk about preparing financially for this major transition, right? From college student to full-time employee. I am sure, having been a college graduate myself twice, I know it can feel like there's so much to think about, and honestly, there is. Like, I'd be lying to you if I said there's really nothing to worry about. And not to say that you should be worried, I guess that's just a phrase, but there are a lot of things to keep in mind, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. This presentation checks in on 10 different financial considerations that all of you soon-to-be graduates should be making. And I'm also going to offer practical steps that you can take to keep in control of your finances as you begin this new chapter of your life. I really want you to be able to find a balance between all of the competing financial priorities that you have now and all the additional ones that will kind of be added to your plate once you graduate. Bill payments, saving, investing for the future, spending your money on activities you enjoy, all of this. We want you to find balance, and I know you do too. So like Katie said, as we dive into this presentation, feel free to raise your hand. I have the participant list up. I can see y'all raising your hands. If you want to be able to ask a question out loud, by all means. Otherwise, take advantage of the chat. I will ask you to contribute some ideas to the chat in just a little bit, but know that if you've got questions, now's a really great time to ask and get them answered. Okay? All right. So I'm going to give you some suggestions just so we have a clear roadmap of where we're going here. I'm going to give you suggestions on number one, how to tie up some loose ends before graduation. I know that you are already tying things up. You are getting ready for commencement and life thereafter, but there may be a few considerations you haven't made yet, and I want to just run those by you. And I'm also going to break down several important guiding principles to follow in the days, weeks, and months after graduation to ensure financial security and freedom in this next chapter for you. And when I say financial security and freedom, what I'm really talking about is that balance from the last slide, right? This ability to pay your bills and handle the emergencies, right? You are secure in your money to pay bills and deal with a financial crisis should one occur. And all the while, you're still saving for the bigger goals that you have to buy a car, to buy a house, to retire one day. And you can still spend money on the things that bring joy to your life. And that's really important. You're going to get out there in the workforce. You are going to work 40, 50, 60 or more hours a week. And we don't want your life to feel like a grind. We want you to be able to earn an income for yourself where you can sustain a lifestyle that is enjoyable for you. That's really important. And that's what financial literacy can get for you. So I'm curious to know from the group that we've got here, what does this defining moment of graduation look like for you? Could you please take a minute to send one message through the chat with your name, your major, and what's next for you after graduation? Work, travel, time off? What's the next chapter look like? I'll wait a moment to see those responses come in. Name, major, and what's next, just to get a sense of the group. If you're able, of course. Some of you might not be able to type. I recognize that. Hi, Sean. Thank you. Polly Sai. All right. Hopefully working on Capitol Hill with your Congresswoman. That's so exciting. I hope that for you too. All right. Very cool. Sociology, philosophy, and grad school in Europe. That sounds incredible. I mean, no matter where you're going in Europe, that just sounds incredible. Kudos to you. Good luck with that. Okay. International relations, working, and then hopefully a year off while you figure out what you'd like to do. I think that's great. I'm really happy you have a plan for that. You know, there's not a one size fits all model for after graduation. And for some of us, kind of working and figuring things out, that's okay. That's part of the plan. That's fine. All right. Criminology, law school. All right. Wow. Good stuff here. You guys, you have big plans. I really appreciate that. And I do wish you all the best of luck with that. My hope is that through this presentation, you're going to pocket some really good financial strategies that you can use to facilitate these big goals that you have, these big objectives that you're trying to reach for yourself, working on Capitol Hill, attending graduate school in Europe, law school, you know, in fall of 23. That's big, major stuff. Let's figure out how financial literacy can help you with all of that, right? But first, of course, tying up these loose ends. So as you near graduation, some of this I'm sure you've done already, but if not, make a note of this. Here's what you should do to get organized for commencement in life after Penn State. You want to make sure you're checking in on all the graduation requirements. This should have been one of the first things you do in your lead up to graduation. But of course, if you haven't already, check in with your advisor to ensure that you've met all the university, college, and major requirements. It is the responsibility of students to notify the university of their intent to graduate, which at this point, I am sure you all have done. But if for some reason you have not, and you thought you were on track to graduate, but you haven't notified the university of your intent, you need to reach out to your advisor ASAP. You need to get online path and activate that if you're within the activation period still. But again, I'm thinking we've already handled that, right? Now, additionally, you want to make sure that your address and contact information in LionPath is up to date. So just as a quick FYI, diplomas are mailed out approximately 4 weeks after commencement to either your permanent address that's listed on LinePath or a very specific diploma mailing address, which you can input on LinePath. And so you need to figure out what addresses are on file. Is this where I want my diploma to go? If not, what changes do I need to make so that the diploma lands in the correct location and it's not lost in the mail system and has to be returned back to Penn State? As you're tying up these loose ends, I'd also suggest to you request letters of recommendation from faculty, from staff, from mentors that you've worked with over the last couple of years. Right now, while you and your achievements are still fresh in their mind. Certainly, it's not off limits to reach back out to these folks later on down the road, but why not, why wait? Reach out now when everything is right there front and center and they can craft for you a really terrific letter of recommendation for all of the various activities and objectives you're trying to reach. A work position, graduate school, you name it. Reach out now. It's a great time. I'll also point out that with student loans, if you've got student loans, whether it's federal or whether it's private, you need to reach out to that loan servicer, to that lender, to make sure they have your up-to-date contact information. So if you have federal student loans, for example, you're going to want to log into studentaid.gov to determine who your loan servicer is, first and foremost, and be sure then that they've got that up-to-date contact information, because they will be sending you important mail correspondence regarding your loans and regarding repayment and other related tasks that you need to complete, and you do not want to miss out on those letters. So know that if you are putting down maybe a family's home address, but you're not living with that family, you're going to want to be in contact with those who are receiving your mail and making sure that you're getting it in a timely fashion so that you can take action accordingly with your loan servicer as they request. I will also add on this slide, it's not on here, but I've realized in working with senior students that they don't always know the rules with their technology, like when everything will be deactivated, their accounts and whatnot. So I want to point out to you that your Penn State student account has some specific like shutdown deadlines, I would call it. So 14 days, 2 weeks from the time that you're marked complete in LinePath, your Office 365 apps are going to close out. Now, when you're marked complete, that might not be immediately after graduation. It may be a couple of days or a couple of weeks. I couldn't say for sure, but the rule is that you've got 14 days after you're marked complete in LinePath before your Office 365 apps are going to close. And so my suggestion to you is get on your apps, get onto Word and Excel and PowerPoint, wherever you have all these fabulous documents that you've made over the years, and start to download and transfer them elsewhere for safekeeping if you know you want to keep them for the future. And I recommend it, particularly when you're thinking about building a portfolio for yourself, for job interviews, for salary negotiations. You want to be able to show evidence of your hard work from here at Penn State. So save these things before they're kind of lost forever and you're not able to reclaim them for yourself. Now, in terms of your email and your Google Suite, so Google Drive, Google Docs, you've got 6 months for that. So you'll have access to your email for a little while longer, same with your Google Drive, but same idea applies. Important emails that you need to save, download them. Important documents from Google Drive, download those as well. So you have them and you don't lose out on access to them because you didn't know to download them in time. Please spread the word on that. I find that not many students know what those timelines are. So please let your friends know so that they can take advantage of saving things that they need to before they're lost forever as well. All right. Now that you have everything ready to go for graduation, what's next? What kinds of money-related questions are on your mind? I'm going to turn the conversation to you for a moment in the audience. Will you please let me know in the chat, what are some of these money-related questions that you've been pondering as of late? Maybe related to student loans, budgeting, buying a car, job offers. Is there anything that you're wondering about specifically? I'd love to know. This is a great time to ask and get an answer to it. All right, great question here. How's the best way to start investing? Okay, you took a intro level finance class and still feeling a little bit confused. I know. And it's hard to say whether that was the nature of the class or just the nature of investing, which can sometimes be overwhelming and confusing just in and of itself. So that's a great question. And investing is really important. It should be of interest to everyone who's looking to save for their financial future and really be able to afford big ticket items later on down the road, like buying a house and retiring. So great, good question. And how to make a budget, also a really great question, right? How do we do it? And I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about both of these topics, and you're going to get some information on how to invest and how to make a budget. And with each, I can guarantee, I can bet you, I'd put money on it, that you're already doing some of what needs to be done to level up into investing or to really make your budget shine and make it work for you. I think that we all kind of have some innate financial behaviors that we've learned over the course of our lifetime in high school and college by working a part-time job, by just having to live off campus and, sustain ourselves. We have some skills here. All right. How do we like max it out, take it to the next level? We'll talk about that. So we're going to break down these 10 principles together. You can see on the screen here, they're ranging from salary negotiation to income to budgeting to insurance to retirement plans and investing. We're going to kind of run the gamut here. If you have questions about any of this, if you need me to repeat something or clarify a point that I'm making, please don't hesitate to ask. But we're going to dive in, and this is all the good stuff you need to know. Well, I shouldn't say all. There's a lot of stuff. I'm going to say this is some of the most important pieces of information to take with you as you're transitioning from college to life after, whatever that is for you, right? So first things first, you really ought to assess your relationship with money. And I suggest that you view this in two ways. Number one, what does money matter to you, and what are your current habits like? Think about that. That's a big question, big two questions, really. It's a two-parter. The second question I want to pose to you is your current relationship and behavior going to transition well to life after graduation? So think about how you're living. Are you going out on the weekends? Are you eating out regularly? Do you have a bunch of subscriptions that you're paying for? What are you doing now? And envision life after graduation. Is that going to carry over nicely? Is that going to allow you to live in a kind of way that you're all right with? Or do you worry that your habits of eating out and going out with friends and paying for all these kind of extra activities that you go to games, you go out to the club, you go bowling, you go, I don't know what, right? Whatever you're doing, is that going to transition well to life after graduation? And that's not to say that you can't do those things, because certainly I went to concerts, I went out with friends after I graduated, but is what I'm doing with my money going to allow me to carry that over? We have to really be mindful of it. Life after graduation, it generally means new expenses and new financial goals. So you've got to ask yourself, is the relationship you have with money going to allow you to cover your bills, these added bills that you'll have, and still save for those big ticket items that you want? A car, a house, a vacation, retirement, you have to decide. And taking this time to reflect will really help you forecast that financial future that you want for yourself. We always start any of our financial literacy presentations with this moment of introspection, because ultimately, we can teach you the dollars and cents. We can teach you what there is to know about money, but ultimately what you do with it is based on your feelings. And we can't tell you that. Nobody can decide your feelings about money beside you. So you have to take those minutes to reflect, maybe even hours or days. I guess that's up to you, but please do. That's first things first. Now, after that, from there, many of you will think about job offers and possibly negotiating your salary. If you're considering it, I say go for it. Because here's the thing. Experts will tell you that employers are expecting it, except in maybe special circumstances like leadership development type programs where there's a large cohort of new hires and the salary is typically set pretty firm, everybody's getting the same thing, or you are a contracted employee. I taught in public school for the first 7 years after I graduated from college. My salary was set. I couldn't negotiate because I worked under a contract. So there might be certain circumstances where you can't negotiate your salary, but if those circumstances don't apply to you, then I'll tell you what, the experts are saying employers are expecting you to negotiate. So go for it, right? You've worked really hard for the last several years to increase your knowledge, hone your skills, and soon you're going to have the degree to prove it. So why not seek fair compensation that respects that hard work and all the value that you will bring to an organization? All right. In short, you're going to need to do the following to successfully negotiate your salary. You're going to need to prepare and practice because, of course, confidence is key. You'll need to do your research. We suggest taking a look at the Occupational Outlook Handbook to get an idea of fair salaries, comparable salaries for other people in the field with similar degrees and similar levels of experience. Salary.com is also helpful. The National Association of Colleges and Employers also has an online salary calculator that helps you to get a sense of what others are making in a particular geographic location with a certain degree, certain levels of experience or years of experience. You can figure that all out, and you need to. You want to come in with the research ready to go. You're going to want to show appreciation when you're having that conversation. If you've been given a job offer, the company already sees some of the value that you can bring to them. So now is your time to really hype that up even more and connect that to your compensation. And you want to show gratitude that they've even extended the offer in the first place and that you can have that conversation thereafter. I'll tell you what, if you're looking to successfully negotiate a salary, you really have to make sure that you've got an offer first and foremost. So you do not want to try and talk salary in the middle of an interview. You don't even necessarily want to get into it much with a job application. You want to be very calculated in when you have that conversation. And a good rule of thumb is let's not talk turkey, let's not talk salary until the offer has been extended to us. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say too much about salary negotiation. It's an abridged version of my advice. And what I'll say otherwise is tune in to our Financial Life Skills Center webinar. We host webinars every other Tuesday. We've got one coming up on April 19th at noon, where we'll be taking a really deep dive into salary negotiation. And I'm going to have a representative from Career Services co-presenting with me. So you'll have an expert in-house that you can ask questions to. So this is just scratching the surface of what to do around salary negotiation, but there's more to come from the center and more resources that we can offer you later on in the month and as well as on our website. Now, a couple of other quick things I'll mention about negotiating our salary and having these conversations with employers before I move on is, you know, the key before negotiating, sorry, let me rephrase that. The key to successful negotiation is getting prepared in advance. And I mean that. I know that you are going to want to show gratitude and expertise. You're going to get prepared. You might write down all of the things that you want to say, and that's great. But that's only step one of two. If you're writing down these things, you're writing down the salary that's desired, all of these value statements about yourself that you can share with the hiring manager in the conversation. That's part one of two. You also need to practice saying all of this out loud in the mirror to a family member, a friend, connect with career services, connect with mentors on campus, have a mock negotiation to really prepare yourself to get in there and have a successful conversation. I know that Katie probably has a whole slew of resources for you all. I know that career services, because we work with them pretty regularly, they also have a lot of wonderful resources too, and I highly recommend that you check them out. Career Services is located in the Bank of America building, which is over by UHS, across from the swimming pools. Check them out, talk to them before and after graduation, check out their website. I highly encourage it. They've got a lot of great resources there. All right, now the very last thing I'll say related to salary is this. Keep in mind that you're not limited only to negotiating your salary. So compensation includes much more than your paycheck. And, you know, we saw during the pandemic, We dubbed it the Great Resignation. There were 33 million Americans who've quit their jobs, often in search of better jobs with better compensation. Like, now's a really good time to be a person on the hunt for a job, because you have a lot of power here right now. In fact, I was reading an article from NPR the other day, and they describe it as the great renegotiation, not the great resignation. And I get why. We have a lot of open jobs out there, and even folks fresh out of college have more bargaining power than ever. So when you're thinking about negotiating, don't just think only about that paycheck number. Keep in mind health insurance, retirement plan options, potential advancement in your career, as well as vacation and sick leave. I'd also add to this, negotiating your start date, flexible working hours, remote work, signing a bonus, relocation costs. There's a lot that you could possibly negotiate with a company before you start that would work in your favor or would make you satisfied. And satisfaction on the job and in your career is really important. So keep in mind, it's not just about that salary number. There's more to it. All right. Okay. Now on to other things. After you receive and consider your salary offer, keep in mind that there's going to be this difference between gross and net pay. If you've ever had a job and you've gotten a paycheck, I'm sure that you've seen this difference. Maybe you weren't sure why it was happening, but let me explain. So gross pay is going to be what the employer offers you, and that's typically an annual salary or an hourly rate of pay. Your gross paycheck, to give you a sense of the number, your gross paycheck will be your annual salary divided by the number of pay periods in a year, or your hourly rate of pay multiplied by the total number of hours you work in a pay period. So your net pay is the pay you receive after taxes and other deductions have been withheld. It's a lesser amount, and it's around 25 to 35% less. And knowing this difference is important for a few reasons. Let's think back to salary negotiation. If I get a salary offer of $65,000, that's wicked exciting, right? For most college students, having a salary offer right off the bat of $65,000 is really exciting. It's more money than they've seen ever come their way. But let's really think about that. That's a gross salary offer. Let me go ahead and take 25 to 35% right off the top. And now I know, well, I'm not actually pocketing $65,000 at the end of the year. I'm pocketing a significant amount less than that. And is that okay with me? As you're looking at your salary offers, think in terms of what is actually going to come to your bank account. Use that 25 to 35% figure, take that off the top, and then look at the number, what you would expect to be more around your net pay. And is that okay with you? And if it's not, if it's too low, then that might be a motivation to negotiate right there, right? I also want to point out that knowing this difference between gross and net pay is important for planning an accurate budget. So Claire had asked, how do I make a budget? Well, I'll tell you right now, you have to know your net pay. You have to start there. And if you know your net pay, you can plan your accurate budget. You are going to have more expenses to take into account after you graduate. You're going to want to be sure that on the one hand, your salary gives you the lifestyle that you want. And on the other hand, that your spending habits are matching with your income. If you're not sure how much money you have coming in each month or every 2 weeks, with your pay stub, you may be spending way beyond your means. And we don't want that. That's going to put anybody in a bit of a financial pickle. We have to be careful there. So that's why knowing the difference is very important. Now take a look here at this sample pay stub from Penn State. This is really a Penn State pay stub, not mine, but it is a real one. So this individual, if you look at the top, you'll see their gross pay and their net pay. You'll also notice that they're paid every month, once a month, not twice a month. And this individual, between their gross pay down to their net pay, they've got about 34% of their gross pay being withheld for taxes and other deductions. And so when we talk about taxes being withheld, we're talking about payroll, and we're talking about, payroll taxes and income taxes. Payroll taxes are taken from your paycheck, and they include Social Security and Medicare taxes called FICA, which you can see here on this sample pay stub. And then all employees need to pay federal income tax, and depending on where you live, you might also pay a state and local income tax as well, as you see here in the example on the screen. Some states don't have a state income tax, and so you wouldn't have taxes withheld at that level, but it's going to vary depending on where you land hereafter. Now, I want to point out that you'll see deductions on the lower portion of the pay stub. And as employees, we have some more control here because, we can elect certain benefits and we can choose how much we'd like to pay towards certain deductions in our paychecks. Taxes, we can't always help so much, but these deductions, we do have some more say over. And that can include retirement contributions, insurance coverage. You see VAD, VADD on this page stub, and that is voluntary accidental death and dismemberment insurance, which may or may not matter to you. LTD is long-term disability. You may pay for parking or meal benefits. This individual pays to park on campus. I can verify that is what it costs to have a parking permit in one of the garages here on campus. So you decide, what matters to you, and are you willing to pay towards it out of your paycheck each month or every 2 weeks? You have some say here. So be sure to talk with your employer, talk with HR about what benefits are available and pick what's right for you. That's important. Now, you have this salary coming in, you know how much income you're receiving, you can build out a spending plan for it, AKA a budget. Budgeting is the number one way to get in control of your finances. I'm not making that up. Honestly, it is. And it really boils down to balancing your income with your expenses. And to be sure, when I say income, again, I'm talking about your net pay, so your after-tax pay. And so when I budget, I have a plan to spend all that income first on things that I need and then on the things that I want. That's really what it boils down to, and I'll show you. If you have the ability to take a screenshot or a photo of this slide, I highly encourage you to do so. This is a sample healthy budget. It comes from the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, and they did some research that found people who follow a percentage-based budget like this tend to have financial wellness in their lives, job security, happiness, and job satisfaction. Like, things are pretty good for these folks. And what's terrific about this particular sample budget is it's set up in a way where you can see all your expense categories. You can look at all of the places that you'd be spending your money. So the pie chart is worth 100%. We're going to assume that's 100% of your net income. If I make $3,000 a month, I am dispersing my $3,000 across these various expense categories. And you'll notice at the top, first things first, I have to save my money, some of it at least. And I'll talk more about that on the next slide. But from there, you've got other categories like housing, utilities, food, transportation. And while this is just a guide, it's not a hard and fast rule to only spend 30% of your net income on housing. It's a good guide. If you have to spend more, I'm from Chicagoland. I lived in Chicago. My housing pie slice was 50% of my pie chart. Okay, if I have to spend more on one slice, I just have to then look elsewhere to trim down. That's okay. And you can do that too. But the deal is you can't spend more than 100%, of course, right? Because you only have as much money as you make and nothing beyond that. Any of the income can't spend beyond the money that you have coming in. So we have to be cautious of that. What are your expense categories right now? Do you have a budget set up for yourself? If you do not, I encourage you to do so. Think about this pie chart. Think about your expenses. Look back at the month of March. Where did you spend all your money? Every time you swiped your debit or your credit card, what was it going to? Probably food is a huge category. That's what most students report to me. And okay, does that fall in line with what you have available, right? Are you spending money where you want to be spending money, or are you overspending in some areas and you're falling short on saving for the things that you want, or falling short on having money to do the things that you enjoy? Or are you falling short on money for the things that you need, which is a real concern, of course. So with budgeting, we've got a tool on our website. I'll plug it right now. If you go to financialliteracy.psu.edu and you check out the resources tab, we've got a downloadable Excel file that has this pie chart. It will help you look at your current budget, forecast a budget for after graduation, and really get a sense of where your money is going. It has directions built in, it has formulas built in, so it will calculate everything for you. All you have to do is input your income and your expenses, look at those receipts, and you'll see the big picture. It's beautiful. We also have apps apps out there for us. A lot of our bank apps have a budgeting tool built in. There's websites like mint.com, You Need a Budget, Truebill, lots of free and some paid resources that you could also utilize depending on what your needs are. If you hate Excel, you might not love our resource online. Okay, so find something else that works for you, right? If you're already in the habit of checking your bank account pretty regularly by logging in, that's half of budgeting right there, being aware of the money that you're spending and what your balance is. The next step is to decide what those expectations are. How much do I want to spend on my various expense categories? You can figure that out, and we can help you too. It's a great time for me to kind of plug the center here. If you need help figuring out your budget, come talk with us one-on-one. Have a meeting before you graduate. We'll sit down with you and we'll help you get organized so you do know what your own pie chart looks like and what you want it to look like post-graduation. Now, the last thing I'll say about this before I come back to saving, which I mentioned at the top, is this rule of 2010. And this rule of 2010 helps you to keep your debt in check. You might not have any debt payments right now, but post-graduation, 6 months after you graduate, your student loan payments are going to kick in. And so you're going to be thinking about debt and debt payments at that time if you're not already. When we talk about the rule of 2010, the total debt excluding mortgage later on down the road if you were to buy a house. So your total debt excluding a mortgage should not exceed 20% of your net yearly income. Net yearly income. And a monthly payment on that debt should not exceed 10% of your monthly net income. So if you're trying to have a guide for yourself, a rule of thumb, again, not a hard and fast rule, but a rule of thumb, remember 2010. Try to keep my debt to no more than 20% of my yearly net income and my monthly payments to no more than 10% of my monthly net income. Now, if it exceeds it, okay, right? That might happen. Not a problem. We just have to trim down elsewhere in our budget. It's a whole balancing act. That's all. All right, that's the last thing I wanted to say on budgeting specifically, but I will highlight again that first category of budgeting, which was saving at least 10% of your money, which is an excellent rule of thumb. Save 10% of any money that you make from your job, from a side hustle, from family if they're giving you some money, birthday cards, you find $10 on the road, pick that up and put $1 of it away, right? Save as much as you can. And when you start bringing in that regular paycheck, pay yourself first. That's why it was the first category in the budget. You want to make sure that you are in a habit of putting some money aside for saving and investing right away, right from the get-go, so that you don't find yourself in a situation where you've paid all your bills, you went out and had fun for the month, and now it's the end of the month and you're looking to see, well, how much can I save? And you've got nothing left, which is such a common occurrence if we're not thinking about it, right? We pay the bills and spend on all the other fun stuff, and then there's nothing left over to put into savings. Flip that. Pay yourself first, put away 10% or whatever you can afford to in your savings account. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking to your savings and make that a habit for yourself that sticks with you for a long period of time, because I'm telling you what, it will pay off over time. Specifically, when we think about, putting money away for an emergency fund. Crazy things happen out there, car accidents, medical emergencies. Nobody saw the pandemic coming. You want to be ready, for those situations, to be able to pay for those situations when they incur. Or if you were to lose a job, for example, let's say you're laid off from a position, what are you going to live on? You might have a credit card that you could live on, but that's not ideal because it costs a lot. Credit cards are expensive when it comes to interest. So having an emergency fund set aside is great. Try to save 3 to 6 months of your expenses as you're working on actively saving. That's a really good cushion of an emergency fund for yourself. And when you have that emergency fund ready, start thinking about investing. Start thinking about ways to save more money for the bigger, longer term goals you have for yourself, like retirement or home buying. You can see on the screen here an illustration of a really important concept in saving and investing, which is the time value of money. You have time on your side. And the more time that you have to save money, before you reach your deadline, the year you want to buy a house, the year you want to retire, the more time you can give yourself to save and invest, the more time your money has to grow. And money that we put into a bank deposit account, money that we invest, typically that's going to grow exponentially over time. And you can see that illustrated on the screen here. So we've got one individual on the left, the individual in green. They started investing at the age of 25. They put away $5,000 a year for retirement. They invested for 10 years. And at the end, by age 60, they had $615,000 ready to go for retirement. They only invested 55,000, but look how it compounded over time, how it grew exponentially. Now, on the other side of the screen, you've got the individual in yellow who waited until age 35 to start investing. And they did, they invested. In fact, they invested quite a bit. They invested over $100,000, double what the individual in green invested. And they invested all the way up through retirement, and they still only netted a lesser amount, $431,000. And that's because of time. The individual on the left had more time to start saving and investing. And so I would really encourage you to figure out a plan for yourself. Now, there's a lot of options out there in terms of investments. Your employer will offer you retirement options more likely than not. You can pursue retirement investments on your own. You can invest in the stock market, mutual funds, NFTs if you're looking into something that's a little bit more new and popular, cryptocurrency. They're real estate, buying a house one day, that's an investment. There's a lot that you can do, but I couldn't say to any one person exactly what's right for them. There's no blanket statement about what's the best way to invest out here, aside from saying you have to do your research and you have to know who you are and your financial picture to know what's right for you and how you can pursue a saving and investment option for yourself. If you have questions, if you want to get a sense of, well, what's my employer offering me? What can I do on my own to start preparing for retirement? Come talk to us at the center. We can talk you through the retirement benefits that your employer is offering you. We can talk you through various investment vehicles that are out there and how you can get started. Not what to do, but how you can, what's available. And then you decide for yourself what's best. That's what we can offer you. But don't delay. Start thinking about this now. You don't have to wait till you start that first job. You can start investing today. You can definitely start saving today. So please do think about that. Now, in a similar thought here, retirement plans. I'm sure that many of us have heard of 401k retirement accounts, and you will probably be offered one by your employer. I worked in the public sector. I taught in public schools, nonprofits, so I was never offered a 401k. If you work for a private company or a private organization, you will probably be offered a 401k, but most employers are offering some sort of retirement plan. 401ks, these are employer-sponsored retirement savings plans, and they're tax advantaged, meaning that you're contributing pre-tax money from your paycheck to them, which in turn means that your taxable income is less, and so your tax bill is going to be lower. There's some benefits here. That's why it's called tax advantaged. Now, when you take advantage of a 401k, you are agreeing to have a percentage of your paycheck paid directly into an investment account. And your employer may match part or all of that contribution, something like a dollar to dollar match or 50 cents to the dollar, they decide. But if your employer is offering a match program, I would highly encourage you to consider partaking in it. It will likely mean that you'll need to make a minimum amount in paycheck contributions to be eligible. But if you can, why not? You might have to do a little rearranging in your budget to be able to afford those contributions. But if you can do so and get the match, go for it, because it's like getting free money. And I want to believe we all love free money. I know I do. And money is not everything to me, but I do love free money, right? These match programs are a way for your company to reward you for being a loyal employee. So the benefit's mutual. Everything is good here. The company benefits when you partake in the program, and you benefit too. So look more into that. If you want to investigate your benefits further, bring in your job offer. We'll take a look at it with you together and help decipher some of what's going on there, because it may feel more complicated than what I've made it seem on this slide. It certainly is. There's more to investing. There's more to retirement than just this. But do come in, chat with us. Now, stepping over into student loans, where to begin? Where to start with student loans? Well, let's start here. Your student loan repayment, it's going to be a fixed expense in your monthly budget. So you're going to want to choose a plan that works best for your unique financial situation. We don't want to not plan for loan repayment. I know that repayment won't start right away, right? It won't start officially until 6 months after graduation. But if you can get that plan organized in advance, starting right now, and you can build out a budget and adopt a budget and get into a lifestyle that will allow you to make those payments when they kick in, do it. It's a great idea, right? So now when it comes to federal student loans, there could be several plans that you qualify for. And I want to make this clear. If you do not log into studentaid.gov and select a specific repayment plan for yourself, you will be put on the standard plan automatically. Every student is eligible for the standard and the graduated repayment plans, but if you don't elect a particular plan, you will be placed on the standard one automatically, and the standard plan tends to have a higher fixed monthly payment, but it allows you, to end up paying less in interest over time. So there are advantages and maybe some disadvantages you might see in some of these plans, but just kind of keep that in mind. Standard plan typically has the highest monthly payment. With the graduated plan that you're eligible for, your monthly payment is going to increase every 2 years, and you're making those payments for 10 years. Both of the plans, you're making payments for 10 years. So if you're paying everything that's due each month, you'll have paid off your student loans in 10 years. With the graduated plan, you're going to pay a little less to start and a little more at the end. And the goal is to have the loan payments increase as your income is increasing as well, which I think we can all expect with raises over time, that we'll be making more money 5 years after graduation and 10 years after graduation, right? There are also plans that account for individuals with high debt to income ratios. So if you have a lot of debt, student loan debt right now, and you'll be entering a job that is not as high paying as you would hope, and it's going to make it difficult to make a standard monthly payment, or if you've got dependents that you are caring for, the government will take that into consideration. And they will base your payments on your income and your family size. Now, generally your payments are lower, but you're going to have to pay more over time for a longer period. It's good to note that in terms of payment plans out there, I think there's something like 8 of them. Some of them do include a form of loan forgiveness after a period of time, something like 20 years, that you may be eligible for. And depending on the type of work that you do, you might be eligible for teacher loan forgiveness, public service loan forgiveness. So do be looking into those options. Studentaid.gov has a terrific loan simulator. Even if you don't have federal student loans, you have private loans, you can go down that website and play around with the total balance number to figure out what's a feasible amount to pay, and what would life be like if you did qualify for loan forgiveness, and how do you go about applying for loan forgiveness. All the information you could possibly want is up there, studentaid.gov. If you have a private student loan, same kind of questions, direct them to your lender and talk with them and get more information about what repayment will look like, what options they have. If there's any income driven plans that you can tap into, talk with them to know more. It's really important here. All right. And talk to our student aid office. You can talk to us, you can talk to the Office of Student Aid. Lots of really great resources on campus for you to tap into. Now, as you're budgeting, I hadn't mentioned this yet, but I don't want to miss this. As you're putting together your budget and you're figuring out how much money you want to spend on each particular expense category, it's really important that you're considering your needs and your wants to figure out just exactly how you want to prioritize that spending. Okay, there are some things, non-negotiables, that you have to pay for: my rent, my utilities, my student loans. Some of it we have control over, some of it we may not, right? But particularly when it comes to the the negotiables, the wants, that extra stuff, how much do you want to spend on that? Where's the give and the take for you? And ultimately, only you can decide. There might be people in your life who say, spend money on this, don't spend money on that, but it's your money and you have to figure out what your needs are and what your wants are. If your budget is a little out of whack, my guess might be that you are spending more on your wants and you're falling short on money for the things that you need. So go back, look at the month of March, print out all of your transactions, everything on your debit card, everything on your credit card. What did you spend money on exactly? Highlight it. If it's a want, make it red. If it's a need, highlight it green. And then get that visual of, am I spending more on the red on my wants? Am I spending less on the things that I need? Is that why I'm running into a bit of a pickle here with an imbalanced budget? Perhaps, but you have to decide, right? Take action with this principle. Be reflective. We have to. We can't not think about how we feel about money and what we're doing and what our habits are. Really important. Now, as you're reflecting on your spending habits, as you're analyzing where your money is going, I'm going to encourage you to think about that and the implications of your spending habits on your credit history and your credit score, this financial reputation you have. If you have a loan, if you have a credit card, if you're an authorized user on somebody's credit card, you have a credit history. And if you make your payments on time, you pay your bills in full, you're going to have a great financial reputation. You're going to have a good credit score. And that credit score, anything, upwards of, it ranges 300 to 850, anything over 700, you're going to be okay for the most part, I'd say, right? I can't say for sure, but typically anybody who's got a good credit score, they're going to have access to the apartment that they want. They're going to get approved for a mortgage. They're going to get decent interest rates on car loans and mortgages, and they're going to get credit cards at decent rates as well, decent APRs, and they won't be denied for these things. But on the flip side, if we have credit cards and loans and we're not behaving responsibly with them, our financial reputation is going to dip. We're going to have a credit score that will dip to the lower end of the 300 to 850 range. And the implication then is that landlords, banks, lenders, even employers are going to look at that score, and we may be potentially rejected from a house or from a car. We might not be able to get a loan or a credit card. We may even not have a job offer rescinded. If you're looking to work in money one day, and maybe even not in money, an employer could ask to do a credit check as part of their background check when they are interested in hiring you. And if they run the credit check and it returns with a low score, they may rescind their job offer. We worked with a senior student a couple of years ago at the center who had a job offer rescinded because she had a poor credit score, which she was not aware of. And I'll tell you what, you have to be diligent about checking that score yourself. Even if you don't have a credit card, even if you don't have student loans, there are nefarious people out there trying to get a hold of your identity and open up lines of credit in your name. People want to have a credit card in your name so that they can spend it and not be on the hook for payments, right? And that kind of unknown activity to us can really hurt us, which is why we have to be diligent about checking our credit score and our credit report. So my recommendation to you is log on to Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, the three major reporting bureaus, pull your credit report. You can pull it once a year for free from each of the bureaus. So space it out every 4 months, make sure that everything checks out. Yep, those are all my credit cards. Those are my student loans. Nothing is unexpected. And that's going to help you ensure for yourself that your credit reputation is not compromised and that it's a good one that you can use for your financial gain later on down the road, right now and later on down the road. Now, if you have questions on credit, and I'm sure you probably do, I know I still have questions on credit. I'm always learning more. Come see us or check out our credit modules online. We've got a Canvas module on credit scores, a Canvas module on credit cards, on student loans. So anything kind of dealing in credit and borrowing money, we've got information for you. Come talk to us, get these questions answered now so you feel like you're prepared to handle that financial responsibility, which is huge. Now I'll tell you too, last thing here, stay appropriately insured. as a soon-to-be graduate. You may already have insurance, health insurance, car insurance through your family. If you are looking to uh, elect your own benefits for yourself, if you're looking to buy plans for yourself, now's the time to check in with family and ask them about what kind of coverage you currently have so you get familiar with the jargon, and then think about what you need for yourself thereafter. Medical and health insurance, maybe disability and long-term care. You might have a business that you're trying to start, and you would like some insurance to cover you from various loss and liability. What's out there for you? Look into that. Life insurance might be of interest to you. Mortgage, if you're looking to buy a house later on down the road. Homeowners insurance we would have to have at that point, but there's additional insurances that we could adopt for ourselves. Pet insurance, you might have a pet or want to adopt a pet later on. There's pet insurance out there. Is that right for you? I can't say for sure. Insurance in some ways is optional. Some insurances are not. Like, we all have to have car insurance to drive, or should at least, to drive around PA and other states. But other options for insurance you might not feel like you need, and you'll forego it. But the choice is yours. Just know, when it comes to insurance, it's your way of protecting yourself from a large financial windfall. You pay a little bit each month or every couple of months to the insurance company, and they'll come to you. They'll come support you. They will provide funds to pay for a car accident or a big medical emergency or a big vet bill if you have pet insurance, right? That you have to decide what's right for you here, but do so. Now, all together, we wrap this up. We take some of these 10 principles and we apply any new ones that we aren't already. And it brings us back to this heightened level of financial literacy and financial wellness that I talked early on. So you have a lot on your plate right now. I know you do. So much to plan for as you transition out of Penn State and into the workforce or grad school or whatever your next big adventure is. Please be thinking about these different principles, these 10 different principles, and how you can apply them so that you can guarantee for yourself financial security and freedom of choice in whatever living context you are in. And it still applies whether we're in school or working full time after our bachelor's degree. This all is still relevant. So I hope that you feel like you've got a sense of what's next. What do I need to explore further from the financial perspective for myself? Now, at the center, like I said, we've got one-on-one appointments. You can check in with us virtually as well as in person. We've got modules on our website, financialliteracy.psu.edu. We've got a mentoring program that you can get connected with, and it will run as long as you want it to. You can be 5 years after graduation and still in the mentoring program. So much to offer you, and it's all free now. Take advantage, because one day after graduation, those one-on-one consultations, they're not going to be free. People will charge you a lot of money to give you financial education when, hey, you can just get it here right now for free. So that's everything I have for you. I do wish you all the very best of luck, and I hope to hear from you soon before you graduate so that we can help you get and remain in control of your finances. If you've got questions, I'm happy to take them. But if not, thank you so much, and I wish you all the best of luck.